Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Recycling for Dummies by Sarah Winkler, narrated by Stephanie Richardson. Publisher's Note. In this audio edition, you'll hear references to figures and tables present in the print and ebook formats of the book. Limit of liability / disclaimer of warranty. While the publisher and author have used their best efforts in preparing this work, they make no representations or warranties with respect to the accuracy or completeness of the contents of this work, and specifically disclaim all warranties, including, without limitation, any implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. No warranty may be created or extended by sales representatives, written sales materials, or promotional statements for this work. The fact that an organization, website, or product is referred to in this work as a citation and/or a potential source of further information does not mean that the publisher and author endorse the information or services the organization, website, or product may provide or recommendations it may make. This work is sold with the understanding that the publisher is not engaged in rendering professional services. The advice and strategies contained herein may not be suitable for your situation. You should consult with a specialist where appropriate. Further, readers should be aware that websites listed in this work may have changed or disappeared between when this work was written and when it is read. Neither the publisher nor authors shall be liable for any loss of profit or any other commercial damages, including but not limited to special, incidental, consequential, or other damages. Introduction. Recycling is one of the most accessible environmental actions you can take that will have an immediate and positive outcome. It also plays a vital role in waste management and addressing the distressing impacts of waste on our planet. It's not just about recycling that piece of plastic you hold in your hand. It's about protecting our wildlife, cleaning up our planet, and reducing pollution and climate change impacts. The issue is that we create too much waste, and we're struggling to get control of it. We currently produce 2 billion tons of waste worldwide annually, and that number is growing. Seeing the impact this waste has on our environment, our precious wildlife, and the climate is enough to get your attention. Recycling is a great way to address these issues. But sadly, as I write this book, worldwide recycling rates are still very pitiful. The average recycling rate worldwide sits at around 30%. Although the rate varies depending on the material, for plastics, the most harmful, it can be as low as 9%. Let's see if we can fix that. About this book. Welcome to Recycling for Dummies. This hands-on guide is full of practical information and advice to help you figure out what goes in your recycling bin and how to develop better recycling habits. Plus, this book goes beyond helping you know what to recycle and explains why you should recycle, giving you an appreciation of the energy and resources invested in making products so you can realize their value and prevent them from wasting away in landfills. You'll get an understanding of how the recycling industry operates and discover ways you can help support it. That means focusing our efforts on reducing contamination, saving recyclables from landfills, and buying back our recycling. The ultimate goal is to build a sustainable recycling industry where recyclables are collected and turned into new products. First, I've broken recycling into 2 main groups: curbside and specialist recycling. Curbside covers paper, plastic, glass, and metal packaging, materials often picked up at your curbside. But whether or not you have access to a curbside service, the information you find in these chapters will be helpful. Next, to help you wrap your head around how to recycle, I've broken down the recycling rules into 3 categories: what you can recycle, what you can't, and what you need to check. Rules across states and countries vary depending on the availability of services, so you'll need to do a little homework and check guidelines in your local area. Specialist recycling covers all the other services available for things like e-waste, food waste, or more specialist items like mattresses or batteries. Many of these have drop-off locations and mail-in options, or can be taken to your nearest recycling center or transfer station. This book is full of actionable content that enables you to become the best recycler you can be and play your part in solving our waste crisis. And with a focus on the waste hierarchy, you'll also get plenty of tips and tricks to help you reduce your waste, look after what you have, reuse and repurpose what you no longer need, and generally lighten your impact. A quick note. Sidebars dig into the details of a given topic, but they aren't crucial to understanding it. Feel free to read them or skip them. You can pass over the text accompanied by the technical stuff icon too. The text marked with this icon gives some interesting but non-essential information about recycling. Foolish assumptions. Here are some assumptions about you, dear reader, and why you started this book. You're concerned about the impact our waste is having on the environment and want to do more. You want to feel like you're contributing to a better world for future generations. You don't have time to search through all the information available on how to recycle and are looking for a single, comprehensive reference guide to help find the answers you need. You're curious about what happens to your recycling after you place it in your bin. You want to know how to make better decisions at the store and switch to recycled products. It doesn't matter if you've been recycling for years or if you're just starting your journey. There is something inside this book for everyone. Icons used in this book. Like all For Dummies books, this book features icons to help you navigate the information. Here's what they mean. Remember, if you take away anything about recycling from this book, it should be the information marked with this icon. Technical stuff. This icon flags information that delves a little deeper than usual into a particular recycling-related topic. Tip. This icon highlights especially helpful advice about how to improve your recycling habits and applying the principles of reduce, reuse, and recycle. Warning. This icon points out situations and actions to avoid when recycling so you don't unknowingly create contamination, a safety issue at the recycling plant or elsewhere. Beyond the book. In addition to the material in the book, this product comes with some Access Anywhere goodies on the web. Check out the free cheat sheet for essential recycling tips and tools, guidelines on how to cut contamination, and ways to reduce how much waste you create. To get this cheat sheet, simply go to dummies.com and search for Recycling for Dummies cheat sheet in the search box. Where to go from here? You don't have to read this book from cover to cover. But if you're an especially thorough person, feel free to do so. If you just want to find specific information about recycling and then get back to work, take a look at the table of contents or the index, and then dive into the chapter or section that interests you. For example, if you simply want to check whether an item can be recycled, you can search for that item and read the appropriate section to find out. But if you want to understand what resources are needed to make it and how the recycling process works, then I recommend you read each chapter in full. If you're looking for tips to improve your recycling habits, head straight to Chapter 5. But if you're pretty comfortable with your local rules, then you might be interested in reading Part 3 to discover more specialist recycling programs. If you're as eager as I am to find out about all the recycled products available, go directly to Chapter 16. It's completely up to you where you start, stop, and return, but no matter where you start, I recommend that you keep this book handy so you can refer to it whenever you have a question. I hope you'll find the answers to most of your recycling questions in this book and gain enough knowledge and confidence to become a recycling superstar. P.S. When you've finished with this book, please remember to keep it in use as long as possible and pass it on to someone else. 1. Getting started with recycling. In this part, discover the essential skills to help you contribute to a successful and thriving recycling industry. Rummage in your bins to better understand waste and how to manage it. Realize the damage that too much waste inflicts on our parks and nature reserves, waterways and oceans, the air we breathe, and the animals with which we share the planet. Explore the recycling processes to discover what happens to our waste and whether it really does get recycled. Chapter 1. Reviewing the Elements of Recycling. In this chapter, looking at the cycle of recycling, explaining the importance of recycling, figuring out how to get started. According to the World Bank, more than 2 billion tons of municipal solid waste is produced worldwide every year, and this number is expected to grow to 3.4 billion by 2050. Clearly, we have a waste issue that we need to start addressing. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Our waste management practices impact the air, land, rivers, oceans, wildlife, and quality of life for both present and future generations. The Earth cannot sustain the amount of trash we create. Meeting the challenges posed by our waste isn't simple, but we have to start somewhere, and recycling is a good place. Maybe you're already an avid recycler, or perhaps you want to get started but don't know how. Either way, I'm sure you'll find this book useful, whether you're digging deeper into why recycling is important, understanding how the recycling industry works, or finding specialist recycling opportunities to complement your curbside recycling. This chapter gives you a high-level view of why recycling is vital, where it sits in the grand scheme of environmental protection, and your role in ensuring its effectiveness. It gives you a basic understanding of recycling and the key takeaways of being a good recycler. There are many great reasons to recycle, and hopefully some of the tips and examples I provide in this chapter and the rest of this book will show you how you can master it. Understanding the recycling cycle. When we dispose of our waste, there are 4 possible destinations: recycling, composting, going to a landfill, or going to a waste-to-energy facility. Recycling, the focus of this book, is the process of collecting material and turning it into something new. More often, recycling is associated with local government curbside pickup services. However, that's not the only type of recycling available. Fortunately, for those who don't have access to a curbside recycling program, there are recycling centers or drop-off locations available. Plus, there are many other specialist and commercial recycling services that are unrelated to your curbside pickup. The following are the main steps in the recycling process. Remember: 1. To recycle an item, it must first be collected. As mentioned earlier, there are 2 main services for collecting recyclables. Curbside collection is where recycling gets picked up from your curbside weekly or fortnightly. This service may look different when you live in an apartment complex, but it's generally the same. Specialist recycling includes recycling centers, transfer stations, and services where you're required to drop off your waste at a collection point, like an in-store drop-off or sometimes even send it by mail. Fortunately, for those without access to curbside recycling, the centers and transfer stations will usually accept the same materials. Once the waste is collected, it's usually delivered to a materials recovery facility or a specialist recycling facility. 2. Items must be sorted and separated into different categories. Most curbside services use a combination of machines and manual labor to sort the material. For specialist recycling, items are often sorted already and may require minimal sorting. 3. After sorting, the material is bound up into bales and sold to a reprocessor or manufacturer. 4. The processor or manufacturer cleans the material to remove remaining contaminants, then uses it in a new product. Recycling is an effective process for turning waste material into new products. You'll discover many success stories in this book. Although recycling may seem simple, there are many factors to consider when determining if and how a material is recycled. Not all items bound for recycling actually make it into new products. Sometimes the quality is too low, or there are no manufacturers who want to use it. But by following the rules, we can help increase the likelihood that these materials make it into a new product. Making the case for recycling. We're using the planet's resources at an alarming rate with no sign of things slowing down. And we're using those resources in the most wasteful way possible, extracting minerals, metals, oil, and gas, making them into products that we use for a short time, sometimes only minutes, and then tossing that precious material into a hole in the ground to slowly rot away. These actions endanger the environment, endanger human health, harm wildlife, threaten ecosystems and biodiversity, and jeopardize the planet's future. It sounds pretty grim, doesn't it? The truth is, it actually is pretty terrible when you start digging into the details. The first step in solving these problems is to become aware of how much harm we're causing. Then, we need to start taking action to lessen our impacts. Reducing our waste is one of the fundamental ways that we can make a difference, and even though the purpose of this book is to show you how to recycle, activities like reducing and reusing are so important and intertwined with recycling that I couldn't help but include them throughout. Remember, as for recycling, it's one of the easiest things you can do to help reduce waste. Plus, the benefits go beyond making use of discarded materials. Recycling helps to minimize how much material is sent to landfills, reduce the risk of environmental damage to ecosystems and animals, lower our reliance on raw resources and reduce the negative impacts of extracting them, save energy and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, decrease the effects of plastic and other litter on ecosystems, supply important raw materials to manufacturers for new products, supporting innovation, boosting the economy, and creating jobs. Protect the planet for future generations. Remember, it takes only a moment to think, am I putting this in the right bin? Will it get recycled, or will it cause contamination and result in recyclables being sent to a landfill? Protecting our parks, oceans, and wildlife. Let's be straight. One of the main reasons we're talking about recycling is the devastating impact waste is inflicting on our environment. Our excessive waste issues are impacting every corner of the globe. It's just not possible for us to continue down this path. We must make some changes, and soon. Warning. Some of the ways our waste is harming the environment include these: greenhouse gases, toxic chemicals, and other harmful substances are released from landfills. Plastic is filling our oceans. In fact, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation predicts there will be more plastic in the ocean by weight than fish by 2050. The animals with whom we share the earth are getting tangled and caught up in our waste or consuming it unknowingly. This is leading to devastating impacts on individual animals and more widespread issues on ecosystems and biodiversity. Microplastics have been found in every corner of the planet. They're present in the air, the ocean, and the soil. They have even been found in the human body. See the next section. We're yet to understand the irreversible damage of this prevalent pollutant. The sooner we start addressing it, the better. By recycling, we can reduce this pressure on the environment and minimize the risk of pollution. Reducing risks to communities. The impacts of waste are often focused on the environment and wildlife, and rightfully so. It's extremely important. But there are many ways waste and the associated pollution affect humans. More often, these impacts are felt by minority or low-income communities, and many developed nations still export their waste to developing countries where waste management practices aren't as advanced, and communities in the environment aren't as well protected. Warning. Some of the issues poor waste management can cause include the following. Pollution can negatively affect people's livelihoods, like the loss of tourism or reductions in local fish populations disrupting businesses. The spread of disease from waste practices or emissions of toxic compounds can impact people's health and the health of communities. The value of land in areas with poor waste management or pollution can drop. Warning. One of the more concerning issues is that of microplastics, those tiny pieces of plastic less than 5 millimeters, 0.2 inches, long. They've already been discovered in human lungs, blood, and even breast milk. Estimates suggest that we could consume up to 100,000 pieces every year. These particles enter the human body through the food and water we consume, or even through the air we breathe. At this point, research is ongoing to help us truly understand the full impact on humans. Find out more about this and other environmental issues in Chapter 3. Minimizing our carbon footprint. Increasingly, people are thinking about how to live more sustainably to reduce their carbon footprint. Most people are unaware of how recycling and waste reduction can help combat climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Energy savings are one of the reasons recycling is so good for the environment. But we can also reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and stop trees from being harvested. Remember, a great deal of energy is lost in the current linear model, where we take from the planet, make products, and then toss them away once we're finished with them. Recycling aims to preserve some of this energy by keeping materials in use and reducing our reliance on new resources. The positive benefits of recycling on climate change are as follows. Tip: it reduces our reliance on fossil fuels. For example, recycling 1 ton of plastic can save up to 16.3 barrels of oil. It saves trees from being harvested. Recycling 1 ton of paper can save 17 trees from being cut down. This has the added benefit of increasing carbon storage. Minimizing the amount of material that ends up in landfills decreases the production of greenhouse gases and the risk of them escaping into the atmosphere. Reducing your food waste and keeping it out of landfills is one of the easiest things you can do to help tackle climate change. Discover ways to reduce your food waste in Chapter 12. It lowers energy use by keeping materials in use for longer. By replacing raw materials with recycled content, manufacturers can cut the amount of energy required to make products. Here are some great examples of how recycling can result in energy savings. Recycling 1 glass jar can save enough electricity to light an 11-watt compact fluorescent light, CFL bulb, for 20 hours. Recycling just 1 aluminum can saves enough power to run your TV for 3 hours. Recycling a plastic bottle can save 2/3 of the energy required to make a new plastic bottle. Remember, recycling can help slow down climate change, but reduction and reuse concepts can go a step further in minimizing our carbon footprint. Find more on this topic in Chapter 3. Securing the future for our children. Remember, recycling helps us conserve energy and resources so that we can leave some behind for our kids and our kids' kids. Recycling isn't just about turning the glass jar or the plastic water bottle into something new. It's about preserving the basic materials required to make a new jar or bottle and using the recycled material in its place. It's sometimes easy to forget that the planet only has a finite amount of resources. Recycling lowers our reliance on raw resources, reducing the impacts associated with mining minerals or fossil fuels, processing them, and manufacturing them. Impacts include ecosystem disruption, deforestation, biodiversity loss, water and soil pollution, and the release of greenhouse gases. It also keeps materials that have already been extracted in use instead of them rotting away in landfills or incinerating them. The more we recycle today, the more these raw resources will be available in the future. Considering the bigger picture. Recycling is only one aspect of waste management, not a standalone activity. It plays a crucial role in the waste hierarchy, a framework for waste management practices that help minimize environmental and human health impacts. The waste hierarchy is the source of the well-known phrase, reduce, reuse, and recycle. It's presented as an inverted pyramid with reduce at the very top, illustrating that this should be where we place most of our efforts. Next down is reuse, and then recycle. The last item on the pyramid is to send materials to a landfill. This is the least favorable outcome and should be avoided as much as possible. Find out more about the waste hierarchy and its application in Chapter 2. recycling also plays a crucial role in a circular economy. In contrast to the existing linear economy, where items are manufactured, consumed, and thrown away, a circular economy is built on keeping resources in use by reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling them. Recycling helps bring the two ends of a linear economy together to create a circle where your waste can rejoin the process, keeping the materials in use for longer. Getting started with recycling. Taking an extra moment to ensure you're putting the right thing into your recycling bin makes a huge difference in the effectiveness of recycling. Many resources are at your disposal, but familiarizing yourself with your local rules is one of the most crucial first steps. Throughout this book, I'll help you find other resources and make sense of what is sometimes conflicting information. The easiest approach to getting started is to set small, achievable goals and accept that you and the recycling system aren't always perfect. Appreciating your role in the solution. Teamwork is the key to building a resilient recycling industry. Everybody has a part to play, including brand owners and manufacturers, retailers, recyclers, governments, and, of course, people like you and me. Remember, as consumers, you and I can help change how we buy, use, and discard products, and in doing so, we can be a part of the recycling success story. We can know the recycling rules and stick to them. Unlearn poor recycling habits. Recognize the importance of preventing contamination. Work to reduce our waste overall. Choose to buy recyclable products over ones that can't be recycled. Support products made with recycled content. Knowing how to get started. It can sometimes be hard to know where or how to get started. All the information can seem a bit daunting. Here are some tips to help you succeed. Taking small steps. We've all been there. Whether it's getting fit, learning a new skill, or some other goal, you give it everything you have and set really high goals for yourself, only to give up after a short time. Recycling is just like any of these tasks. If we set goals that are too demanding, we may give up on them after only a short time. Figure 1-1, in the print and ebook versions of this book, illustrates this concept. The person on the right struggles to reach the first step because it's too big. But on the left, the steps are smaller, so the person has almost reached the top. Breaking your recycling goals into smaller steps can make it easier to give things a go. Give you less to focus on at one time. Make it less likely you'll be overwhelmed and more likely you'll succeed. Small steps add up. Initially, you might feel like you are not making much of a difference, but believe me, it won't be long and you'll be looking back at all the changes you've made. Once you've mastered each small change, you will feel ready for the next one. Tip: choose one type of material to work on first. Start with curbside recycling of paper, for example. Then, start by reading the relevant chapter, Chapter 7. Use the worksheet provided to check your local recycling rules and place it near your bin. Whenever you have a paper or cardboard product to recycle, check the worksheet or head back to the chapter to see whether it's recyclable. Then, keep doing that for a few weeks. Once you feel comfortable that you know that material well enough, move on to the next one, like plastic or metal. Tip: don't be afraid if you mess up. Just keep trying and do what you can. Every bit helps. And keep in mind that not everyone has access to the same resources and recycling services, so try not to compare yourself to others. Accepting that things aren't perfect. Throughout this book, I explain the recycling process in detail. Since you probably haven't read the whole book yet, let me explain one of the problems. Recycling is a complex process with many working parts, from all the different groups involved to a complex mix of materials that must be sorted and processed. Plus, things are constantly changing and developing. Remember, don't be discouraged from recycling when you hear that one type of material doesn't necessarily get recycled. There may be a good reason why it's not, like there's too much contamination. It's too expensive to process, or there is no
Sample complete. Ready to continue?